What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American Politics, back in with a new video, and today, it is time we do another edition of Poll Watch 2022. That is right, folks. Today, we are focusing on a northwestern state this video. That's right, folks. We're discussing the Washington Senate race as we got new polling from one of the better pollsters in America, Trafalgar. And originally I said, okay, this race was going to be a bit more competitive than usual. I didn't expect this. Right here, Trafalgar has Patty Murray only winning by 3 points. You know what? Let's show you the actual report. Right here, they show Patty Murray is potentially within the margin of error against Tiffany Smiley in the Washington Senate race. At first I thought, what the hell? What? Think about that for a second, folks. Originally, I thought this race was going to be, within 10 points. And so a lot of people with a brain would agree because it's a red wave year, Smiley is a solid candidate, and Murray's not the most popular. But the fact of the matter is, Trafalgar released this poll, and at first I was like, okay, what's up with Trafalgar? What crack are they on? Then they had an interesting point. Ever since Biden announced student loan forgiveness, that garbage that, they give away to frickin' people that, are never going to pay those loans off, while people that actually did pay off their student loans, they got shafted. They said ever since then, every single race has become an anti-Democrat sentiment after Biden's move. And then I started realizing, in a state like Washington, that actually makes sense. There are some parts of Washington that education, all that stuff, is a big indicator of how elections go in the state of Washington. Now, before I forget, of course, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, and yes, of course, go follow the mysterious Twitter account in the description down below. And, also join the channel. That is right, folks, for just 10 cents a day, you can join Real American Politics. I recommend you do. It helps support the channel and keep spreading daily content to all of you. And, Alright, folks. So let's get into it. So what do I mean? Before we get into the education part, we have to look at the reason that Washington is a pretty hard nut to crack, alright? But when you look at it, even though it voted to the left of Oregon, I think it voted left of Oregon by like 2 or 3 points, unironically, it may be an easier state to win in the future than Oregon. I know that sounds crazy. A state that went to Biden by 20, almost 20, is a much easier state to win in the future for presidential and Senate races than Oregon. But with Washington, there still is a big hurdle to climb. The one frickin' city that just destroys the state. Seattle, or, King County, whatever. I just say Seattle because that's essentially what King County is. It's just all the Seattle metro and, all the suburbs around it. That's all King County is, essentially. It's just Seattle. This is the reason this state is freaking so Democrat. I mean, look at this. Biden won the state by around, let's say, under 700,000 votes, or give or take. What is that? 800,000? Okay. Look at King County alone. He won this county by around 640,000 votes just in one county. So virtually all of that margin come from one single county. But this is the thing that people need to understand about Washington. There is a lot of room to grow for Republicans. That's not even me, being biased. It's factual. Look at all these light red counties. And I'm not going to pronounce basically any of these. But these counties should be voting like rural counties in Montana or Idaho or whatever. These are counties that surprisingly are fairly working class. I mean, look at this. Grant County, only 18% of voters in this county have a college degree or bachelor's degree or higher. The average income, $60,000. You look here, how much did you get? Only 65%. That's the type of thing I'm saying. These are so many votes, considering the fact the rural counties. Again, obviously you have King County that sucks up most of the votes. It's over, what, quarter of the vote from King? But when you start doing it, the Seattle area, these 3 counties make up, roughly speaking, half of the vote total in the state of Washington. That means it's not like Oregon where Portland and Eugene control, I think it's like 60-70%. It's half is coming from the Seattle area. That's a big reason that there is some potential growth for the state of Washington. Plus, you have working class areas Republicans are still doing terrible in. Calais County, for example. This is a county that should be, becoming more and more Republican. I mean, only $55,000 median household income, 28.8% bachelor's degree or higher. That's a sign this is a fairly working class, blue collar area. And again, my opinion is this. If it's under, 65,000 in a state like Washington, it's very working class. If it's below 80,000, I consider more of a middle class area. That's kind of how Washington works. I mean, median household income is 77,000, but essentially anything below 80,000 here is middle class, and anything kind of below like 65,000, I would consider more of a working class area. That just shows you there are a lot of votes in the rural parts of the state Republicans could pick up. All right, and somebody like Tiffany Smiley, who is running a solid campaign, could potentially do it. But again, the problem is you're not going to be able to win every single one of these rural counties. For example, Whitman County. You would think by looking at the the median household income, 42,000, this should be a gold mine. Here's the problem. This is one of the most highly educated counties in the state. This is where I think Washington State is. If I'm not mistaken, this is where Washington State University is. And that's the problem with a county like Whitman. So you're not going to be able to, run and up in all these counties, because there are counties like Whitman that they're kind of weird politically. Plus, you got Clark County, which has Vancouver, which there are signs that Vancouver's actually becoming a bit more Republican. But you can't just win on the back of improving the rural margins. It'll help, but for you to win Washington via just purely rural margins, you have to get Saddam Hussein numbers. And then you may have to dwarf those. So that's the problem with just the rural strategy. But this is the thing that Smiley has that I think people are not talking about enough. Her unique appeal to the outer Seattle counties. Now, obviously, King County, that's kind of the Big Apple. But there are other votes in this region. Pierce County, Snohomish County. That's correct, folks. I'm 95% sure I got that 95% correct. Snohomish, whatever. Point is, these outer counties, there is actually a very interesting vote share. The Republicans, they've been kind of lacking the past couple of years. It's middle class, more middle class to upper middle class voters. Mostly in a place like Pierce County. You remember what I said? Anything below 80,000 in Washington is essentially a middle class area. Pierce County is at 76,000, and their education, it's actually below the national average. Now, outside of, the more, poor voters, I should say the areas with less median household income, these are the type of voters that have gotten freaking hammered because of Biden's policies. Gas prices just exploded. Inflation, food costs. This is the big thing that somebody like Smiley is doing a phenomenal job on. Attacking Murray and Biden where it hurts the most. Food prices. These voters in places like Pierce County, they're having issues with inflation. Yes, there's issues everywhere, and also in rural counties. But these huge areas with a lot of people, they're having some of the biggest issues, biggest food shortages. That is why Republicans do have an opportunity to pick up votes in places like Pierce. Now, again, obviously you can't just win off the back of Thurston and Pierce County. Sure, if you flip Pierce, it's a more likely chance of, doing better in places like King. You still got to get this rural vote out. And I know a lot of people are going to point to, the primary. Oh, look at this. Smiley didn't do so good. She only got 33% and yada, yada, yada. Here's the thing, though, about blanket primaries. They historically don't correlate. I mean, look at Mike Garcia. His district, I think, was R plus 10 in 2020, and then during the general election, it was like wasn't called for like weeks. That's a type of thing that people need to understand about, blanket primaries, whatever you want to call them. Traditionally, they do not correlate well. But there were some signs that Smiley was doing good in places, that rural counties in Washington. But again, it doesn't matter how well you do in a place like, freaking Lincoln County or Adams County. Like, you have to do great out here. Don't get me wrong. But focusing on the issues that matter, especially these voters in the Seattle area. All right, I should say just Seattle, more so the Pierce, Kitsap, and Snohomish counties areas. These counties, they're suffering hard from food prices, education, all of that. And Seattle, well, it's a lawless hellhole. I mean, look what happened. A Republican won the DA race. Now, again, I think she was going against pretty much, I think it was a socialist at that point. But either way, there are signs, even in the Seattle area, that they are sick and tired of the lawlessness. And they want some kind of law and order candidate that's going to also help deal with the food costs, like reduce inflation. That is a serious possibility. And that's why I'm telling people, Republicans, I don't think will win this race. I still don't. But it's going to be much closer than people originally expect. There are opportunities to gain here. So yeah. Anyways, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, and yes. And of course, go follow that mysterious Twitter account in the description down below. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Godspeed to all of you.